Hi folks, so the question we have in front of us here today, guys, is a transformation geometry question that will be aimed at third year higher level pupils. We can see we have the object here, and what we have to do is we have to do 4 transformation geometries. We have to do axial symmetry, central symmetry, translation, and a rotation as well at some point in this. And we've also got the line L, Q, R, M as well. Okay, we're going to use those lines to help us complete these transformations. So the first transformation, guys, we have to do is a translation equal to the line QR. Okay, so we want to move this object translation to QR. And a translation, guys, is what I always say in class. It's like moving along the train tracks in the same direction as the direction of QR and the same distance from Q to R. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take QR and we're going to go up parallel from all the 4 points, okay, of this object here, and find it up however what that distance is. Okay, so the first thing I would do is I would get that distance from Q to R on my compass from there to there, have that ready, and then what I want to do is I want to use sliding set squares, take that there, okay, and what I want to do then is literally go up parallel to the line QR. Okay, and just as my visualizer is in the way now, I'm just going to move my set square. So I'm going to start sliding downwards now from this point. Might go a little bit further, I'd say, from this point, and also the last one from this point. Okay, so somewhere up along there, guys, is all of our points. Starting off this question, guys, what I should have told you as well is the angle inside here for this point up here. If I was to label that as well, I will label that, if this is A, I'm going to call this one B, this is C, and I'm going to say this is D down here. Okay, and the radius of that arc in there is radius 20 millimeters. Now the angle from A to B is an angle of 60 degrees, okay, with your T-square. Okay, an angle of 60 degrees, just like that there. Okay, and it's the same from D to C as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is, first of all, with that distance which we have from Q to R there on our compass and it's set, I'm now going to go to A, start with A, mark that, mark from D, mark from C, and mark from B. Now chances are, guys, because this is parallel with my T-square, these should line up parallel as well. There. And we can see that they are. Perfect. And just make sure that's going at 60 degrees, and it seems to be working out fine as well. And this is also going at 60 degrees. So that one, nice and easy there. And then the last little bit, guys, I'm going to just switch out my marker here, or a dark one, and I'll start having it in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the radius from down here. Okay, take that radius and mark it in here. There we go. Label them. So this would be A1, B1, C1, and D1. And finish off then by having in the object. Okay, that first one there, guys, is a translation. Nice and simple. Try and focus on very early on getting the object as accurate as possible, because as we go on through these transformation geometries, it can get a little bit more difficult to keep the accuracy really good. Okay, so that's the first one done there, guys. We have literally just translation along the line QR. Okay, now the next one, guys, is an axial symmetry in the line LQ. So basically this line here, LQ, is our guideline. That's going to be our axis. Okay, now we can see there that the line LQ, this object, we're going to take him and we're literally just going to flip him over like that. Okay, now the line LQ, we can see, guys, is not going to be extended enough, so we're going to bring that up further. The angle for that line was 70 degrees, so I got that with my protractor earlier on. So I'm just going to bring that up a little bit further there. That should do it. Okay, and now what I want to do is I want to flip it over perpendicular to the line LQ. So to be able to do that, just take my T-square out of the way there. And what I am going to do is I'm going to set up my, here we go, set up my perpendicular angle. You can see it's 90 degrees there on the line LQ. I'm happy with that. I'm going to bring it down to it. Get the first one. Okay, didn't need to go that far, but you get the idea. Get the second one out to about there. You move it along. Okay, and this one now should get the last few. Okay, it'll be out there somewhere. You can see here how I'm just using sliding set squares, always keep it parallel. Many different ways you can do it. Get B here. Okay, so somewhere out along those lines is going to be my points A2, B2, C2 and D2. And that was done by axial symmetry using the line LQ as my axis. So I'm going to start with A, B, C and D. Alright, so I'm going to start with A. That distance there. Make sure you get it as accurately as possible. Mark it out on the opposite side. Then I'll come up to the B one. That distance. Need to extend out that line a bit further. Then I'll do C. And then the final one to D. Yep, happy with that. There we go. And labels once again. So this would be C2, this would be D2, A2 and B2 up here. Okay, and all I'm going to do there is extend those out. I mistakenly used my green for that, but sure, I'll stick with it, it'll be fine. Now at this point here, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to connect up all of these. So I'm going to connect up A to D, A2 to D2, okay, and the line C2 to B2 should be parallel to that. So I can see there it is, so I'm happy with that. And then at this point here then, the line C2 back to D2, and slide this up, make sure it's parallel. Happy with that. And my visualizer is just getting in the way, so I have to switch up my set squares. And they're parallel as well. So I'm quite happy with that, okay? And the last little bit then, I'm going to take the distance from D1 to the radius here. I could also go back down to my original one down here, but they should be the same. And they are. So I'm going to go to D, and we can see that it's flipped around this time. Okay, it's like I've taken the object and flipped it. There we go. And once again, just heavy it in. I'm always trying to take the geometry that's already there and noting that parallel line should be parallel. So where I can then, I should use sliding set squares and so forth. It helps to keep the object quite symmetrical overall and looking correct. Okay, so there we go. We have now done a translation and we have done an axial symmetry along the line LQ. We just extended out the line LQ so we could extend out our axis to get our points. Okay, now the next one is we have to do a central symmetry in the point R. Okay, so we're basically taking this object here, going through the point R and extending our points out the opposite side. So on this one, guys, I will stick with my green since I've kind of gone red to green. Okay, I'll stick with my green. And yeah, so I'll do A2 through R first. So everything goes through the point R. I will go B and C, and then finally D. Okay, and there should be 4 points out there, so find those. Everything goes through the point R. This is quite Similar to the axial one where you take your distances back to locate them out, only everything goes off of R this time. So I'll start with the closest one. D2 is here, so D3 should be out here, C2 is here, so C3 should be out here. Then get on to B, it's going to be the furthest one away. I'm fairly sure it's this one here, don't get mixed up if you can. Then finally we have A. Okay, so label them again. So this is going to be A3, this is going to be B3, I assume this is going to be C3, and then D3. Okay, once again try and keep everything symmetrical. So a bit of sliding set squares, going to connect up. I know A to D connects up, and then B3 and C3 should be parallel with that. Masking tape behind me there. You can see here now I'm getting a little bit, I'm about half a mil out, but I'll make it work. Okay, and then the same thing then, D3 should connect up to C3, and then parallel to that A3 should connect up to B3. Okay, and once again visualizer's just getting in the way there at the top, so I'll move around my set square, slide downwards now, and I'm happy enough with that as well. Okay, once again keeping everything symmetrical, and once again I'm going to switch up and get the arc drawn in first. So back here it's at D along the line A and C then. So there's my D, which means it's going to be in here. Right, there we go. And once again, heavy and or important detail. And there's our object. This time it was essential symmetry, okay, from here to here through the point R, and we can see that the kind of distinguishing feature, which is the arc, obviously has come over here now in this case, okay, rather than being down here once again. Okay, so this time, guys, the very last one, it says is we have to do a rotation anti-clockwise about point R until the vertex A reaches the line RM. Okay, so what we're doing is we're rotating anti-clockwise, so that means this object is going in this direction about the point R until the vertex A reaches the line RM. Okay, so there's a little bit in this, alright? First of all, I'm going to start off by extending out my line RM. It might need to come a little bit further. So I'll extend that out. Okay, and what we're going to do now is rotate the object about point R until the vertex A reaches the line RM. So I'm just going to zoom out there a little bit more so you can see that in a little bit more detail, guys. And from R, I'm going to start with R to A, because that's my guide. So A3 in this case now, I'm going to rotate him until he reaches the line RM. And as we can see there, A3 has rotated about until it reaches line RM. Now that is A4. Okay, now there's 4 points on this parallelogram. I'm now going to rotate about B. It doesn't have to reach the line RM, they just said A reaches it, so somewhere along that arc is going to be B4. Okay, I might as well now while I'm at it rotate out C3. Somewhere along that arc is going to be C3, and then finally D3. Take the distance from here to D3, rotate that about, somewhere out along that arc is going to be D4. Okay, now what we're actually going to do, guys, is we're going to take, so I'll zoom back in there, so I think it's all going to fit in here quite comfortably actually. Alright, probably didn't need to extend out my line that much, so I'll zoom back in there. Right, at this point now, what we're going to do is we are going to take the distance from A3, okay, to locate D3 and B3. Okay, so I'm going to take the actual geometries of the object. So from A3 to B3, that has a distance there on my compass, as we can see. Okay, I've already got A4. So if I from A4, using the distance from A3 to B3, where I found A4, I'm going to scribe an arc, and where that arc, as you can see, cuts through the arc that B3 was on, that gives me a point right there. Okay, that is now B4. Okay, I'll do the same with A3 to D3. There to there, that distance on my compass, and I'm going to go to A4, because A4 is kind of my guiding point now, and somewhere out along there, along the D3 arc, once I swing it, there we go, I have now found D4. Okay, and then the very last one I have to do is it's D3 to C3. Go in there. Aha, I've actually found a mistake that I've done. I apologise, just realised. I was wondering, that was looking a bit funny, because if you look at it here, B4, it is very good. I'm going to extend that arc on further. Okay, and if you remember, I did the distance A3 to B3, took that on my compass, and when I went to A4 here, I swung an arc. Now technically I should have keep swinging that arc, and where it actually cuts, you can see it actually cuts in two places, and I assumed it was the first one, when actually the more accurate one here, if you look at the points up here, would have been this one. Okay, so this will be B4 here. I apologise for that. I'll just quickly fix that. A little bit of Tipex here, so that doesn't confuse you. Okay, and I assume it might be the same up here as well. I'll just check. So these can just be, a lot of it comes down to kind of the look of it, guys. Okay, so I'm going to extend that one out, and if you remember, that was D4 to C4, so it should be, just make sure, take that distance again on my compass there, as you can see. I'm going to go up to D, and I assume that is going to cut in two places. Yeah, I think that's the right one then in that case there. Okay, so we'll see how that works out now, guys. So that is C4. Okay, so once again, a little bit of sliding set squares. So just to make sure everything connects up, so A3 to D3, in this case it was A4 to D4. And this is where our accuracy is going to be a big test to us. Okay, sideways actually. Now, see how accurate we are. It's not too bad. Let's go back here and do this again. Just slipping a bit on the masking tape there. Not too bad. I'm out about half a mil. Okay, I'll make that work out there. And now I know, see how D4 to C4 connects up. And see how this works down here. Once again, you can see there I'm out a little bit. Okay, so there's a bit of a debate there, guys, when you're doing these kind of questions. Mark it there. When you're doing these questions, you can see there I'm out a little bit, my accuracy's gone a bit poor there. Okay, so I'll just make it look a little bit better. That the problem is when you have arcs going through arcs here, and the measurements, now I am using a pen as well, okay, so the tip of it is a little bit more blunt, but a little measurement that can be a half mil out, that can add up as you're going along a question and so forth. Okay, but the method is what's most important there. Alright, so if you're out a little bit, don't worry about that, make it look as accurate as you possibly can, and then complete the question. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. I know it was on D there, so it was along the line. D is my center, there's my arc, and complete the question. So A connects up to D. My lines that were parallel at start, they weren't too bad. Okay, and there we go. Stacked it up there. That was a little excuse me, that was a little bit out, but as you can see I kind of fixed it around, guys, and made it look right. Probably out if you look in there. Okay, I'll just move that a second. You can see here I'm out a little bit down here. It's saying the point was there. When I had to make it work, I had to kind of put it here. Okay, but only a small error. Only a small error. Don't ever let that kind of knock you back, okay, in the exam or something like that. At the end of the day, everything else we have done is correct. All the methods we have done are correct, and what you might lose out there is just a tiny little bit of accuracy, okay. Hope you found that helpful, guys. We will do another one of them in the next lesson. Okay.